Hooday, Bengal fans. He is Maan. I am Jake. This is the Bengals Pulse, your heartbeat for our Cincinnati Bengals. Maan, episode 4 is here. The schedule preview, the schedule is out. We have a lot to get to tonight. How's your week gone?
It's going good, man. I'm really excited. Little, as you know, I'm not too crazy about the schedule, but we're going to talk about that a lot here in a few minutes. The NFL hates us.
All right, well we'll get to that, but let's get real quick to some news and notes. Again, the Bengals announced the signing of 16 undrafted free agents. We talked about how thin that receiver room is looking. 4 of those undrafted free agents were wide receivers, and then we also got the tight end Justin Rigg, the young man from Kentucky. I think I talked about him a little bit on Ace and Zim show a while back. I'm very excited to see how he's going to fit in the mix. I think he's a guy that actually could push to make the 53-man roster. But what did you think? Any takes from those 16 individual guys that got signed, the undrafted guys?
Well, I'm glad they finally released the names. We've sort of heard about them, but it wasn't an official release. Yeah, Ben Brown, the guard from Ole Miss. I think he has a chance of making the team. The Tisdale kid, Tariq Tisdale, I think the defensive end might have been I think he's from Ole Miss. 4'6", 40, unbelievable measurables. Hobson had a great write-up on him. Just doesn't have a lot of stats in college. I don't know if it was due to injuries. Just didn't play a lot. If Coach Hobby and that defensive staff can get him, get him right and get him to produce with that athleticism, look out. I mean, hopefully he makes the practice squad, and maybe next year he'll be a rotational guy for this team. I'm excited about him.
Well, and again, too, that's why we talk about these guys, why they fall out of the draft, right? A lot of these guys have, maybe they don't have a lot of film. Maybe it's due to injury. Sometimes it's off the field stuff. So you never know how those guys are going to pan out. We have had, though, in the past, we've had some undrafted free agents that's made this roster and has played well for us too in the past. But let's talk about 2 rookie minicamp was also last Friday. The only one not attending was our second round pick, Cam Taylor-Britt, the defensive back from Nebraska. Coach Taylor said he had shown up, I guess, and then he got sent home due to illness. I'm a big fan of Stanley Morgan Jr. I think he's one of our unsung heroes. I love what he does on special teams. On offense, he comes in, he blocks, he does everything the coaching staff asks of him. He's also obviously a Nebraska guy. He's already given Cam Taylor-Britt a nickname. I love it. The Energizer Bunny is his nickname. And again, he said this is a guy, this Cam Taylor-Britt kid, he's a guy that flies around the football, which is what all of us coaches love to hear. He's a guy that is a hard worker and gives everything to his team. So to me, that is extremely exciting. I know he's a guy you like. We all definitely loved his first interview, his first press conference. But I am excited about that. But it is kind of a bummer that he wasn't able to participate in rookie minicamp. But obviously, he'll be back when they start OTAs. One thing I always like to see is these, when they do have rookie mini camps, a lot of times they'll also invite guys to try out, right? And this year in Cincinnati, the Bengals invited a young man who actually got signed. His name is Abudarame Suare. He is a defensive back. He played at Colgate University. He graduated in 2019 from Colgate. He's been playing for, let me get this right, the Potsdam Royals, which is in the German Football League. So this is a kid who obviously loves football, right? Wasn't drafted, went over to Europe, played in Europe, got a tryout with the Bengals and made the team, got signed. He's actually, I think, wearing number 43, George Iloka's old number. I love this kid's story, Mon. It's incredible. His mother His brother and himself came over to America in 2000 from Sierra Leone, which is in West Africa. It's known as one of the poorest, most war-torn countries in the world. And this young man has already been through so much. It's an incredible story. If you get a chance, Mon, you got to read about this young man. But he's a guy I am definitely rooting for. I know you love those kind of stories too. So I'm excited about Abudarame Suare being a Bengal and seeing how his journey ends up when we come down to the 53-man.
Yeah, he must have really put on a show at his tryout for them to sign him to a contract. I think they're expecting to be a special teams demon, maybe return some kicks for him. It is a great story, and I hope, it'd be great if he made the team or made the practice squad. Yeah, rookie minicamp was great. Getting to see some of the interviews from some of the players, getting to hear Zach Carter talk. I said a couple weeks ago he's my favorite draft pick out of the draft. He reinforced it. The guy is dialed in. Somebody I was critical of a little bit, Volson, the pick from North Dakota. Buddy, he was impressive in his interview. He is a glass eater. This guy is dialed in. I wouldn't be surprised if he is our starting left guard. I know we got a long way to go, but this guy, he's all business. And it was neat to hear these guys talk about their love of football.
Well, and two, I think I read up on some of those other guys too. They, nobody disappointed, right? All the DBs that we brought in, that we drafted, the coaches said they're incredibly athletic. They're long. These guys are playmakers in the back end. They talked about a couple of those defensive line guys, one of them being Zachary Carter, how big and powerful those guys are. So yes, and Volson, I agree. We talked about it. We've talked about it the last couple of weeks. He is in that Pollock mold, right? He is what Pollock wants. And I agree with you. I think it's going to be very interesting to see how that offensive line starts to work itself out as we get through OTAs and get into training camp. But let's get to the schedule, right? The big news: the schedule is released. I know you have a lot to say about it. I want to get your initial thoughts first. I'm going to go ahead and give you mine, and then I want to hear yours. I think the first thing that really popped out to me is we have the third toughest schedule in the NFL, and we should, right? To me, we are in the top three as far as the best teams in the NFL. So, it makes sense that we would have the third toughest schedule. We went to the Super Bowl, won the AFC. I think it's going to be an exciting season. I love a lot of the matchups that we have throughout the schedule. But one thing I want to remind all the naysayers is it doesn't matter how hard our schedule is. Last year, Joe Burrow and the Cincinnati Bengals were 7-3. That's including the playoffs against playoff teams. Their only three losses, Mon, were by 3 points each. So we had the Packers game, which, that was a tough one. Nobody wanted to win that game. There were all those field goals missed at the end. We had a chance to win it. And I think that was Evan McPherson's toughest game that he had as a rookie. The 49ers game, we lost in overtime as well, 26-23. And then obviously the Super Bowl.
Fumbles.
Yes. Two fumble punt returns, right, by Darius Phillips, which gave the 49ers incredible field position inside the Bengals red zone, which, again, special teams, I don't care what anybody says, special teams is a huge part of the game. It's a huge phase of the game. You can win and lose games by special teams. And I agree with you. I think special teams lost us that football game. And then, of course, the heartbreaker, right, the 23-20 loss to the Los Angeles Rams in the Super Bowl. But 7-3 against playoff teams. Those three losses all came against NFC teams as well. No AFC losses to any AFC playoff teams last year. A couple other interesting things about the schedule. The Bengals have 4 back-to-back road games. 4 different times in the schedule, back-to-back road games, and only 2 back-to-back home games in the schedule. So definitely a little lopsided there. We did get our 5 primetime games, Mom. We talked about it before. So this is the first year in Bengals history that the Bengals have 5 primetime games. 2 at home, 3 on the road. I'm not really sure. We'll talk about that later. I'm not very happy about that. That's probably my biggest thing against this schedule. And all 3 road primetime games against division teams. Again, those 3 teams did not earn home games in my eyes. So we'll have to talk about that here in a little bit. And then obviously week one, we are at home. It's not what you and I thought it was going to be, right? We thought it was going to be a primetime matchup, AFC champions, but the NFL didn't see it that way. We do start at home against Pittsburgh, which to me is probably going to be an extra bye week for our Cincinnati Bengals. I do think it is interesting. We talked about a couple podcasts ago how the Bengals have always started out, it seems like, on the road. But now 2 years in a row, we start at home. It's against the Pittsburgh Steelers on 9/11. And Mon, I got my little trivia question for you this week is the Bengals are favored by 6.5 points against the Steelers going into that week 1 game. The lines have already come out 6.5 points. The Bengals are favored. Mon, do you remember the last time the Bengals were favored by 6.5 or more points against our hated Pittsburgh Steelers?
Woo.
It's a tough one. This is a tough one.
Yeah, that is a tough one. That's going to be a really tough one. I'm going to say 89, 90 season.
1978, Mon. 1978 is the last time our
That's
Bengals
amazing.
were favored by 6.5 or more points against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Mon, here we go. I want to hear your initial thoughts on the Cincinnati Bengals 2022 schedule.
Okay, I'm going to give you that real quick, but let's talk about the preseason real quick. The last preseason game, they play the Rams, and they're going to have joint practices with the Rams, which I find very interesting.
I saw that.
They plan on doing that week. Okay, about this schedule, you touched on it a few minutes ago. We have 5 primetime games. We knew that was coming, and obviously some of my hot takes didn't work out. I was convinced that they were going to open up in primetime.
We all were.
That obviously didn't happen. I'm trying to wrap my head around this. Out of the 5 primetime games, why can't the Bengals get three home games? I just don't get it. I think the city deserves it. The team deserves it. They are AFC champs. Instead, we're playing the Ravens, Browns, and Steelers in prime time, Sunday and Monday Night Football. I just,
on the road.
On the road. You're right. We are better than them. I get it, but that's going to be a tough game. I mean, you can look at it this way. We're starting off down 3-0 right now. Playing on the road in Pittsburgh, primetime, playing on the road in Baltimore. These guys are going to be out ready to, they're upset about last year. It's tough. And I would have loved to have at least one of those games in Cincinnati. Listen, I know they weren't going to get all 5 in Cincinnati. I get it, but they deserve to at least get 3 out of the 5.
Agreed.
And we talked about it the other night. I wasn't happy about it. I was really upset. But it is what it is, and these guys got to just show up and play some football now.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, again, we need to get used to this, right? We need to get used to being in prime time. We need to get used to this tough schedule. We need to get used to everybody chasing us, and really the X is on our back, right? We are the ones that everybody is looking to beat this year. In the AFC. So we need to get used to that because I feel like the Bengals are going to be in this role for a very, very long time. But let's get to the schedule. Now, the way we're going to do this tonight, Bengal fans, is we are going to break it down in quarters. So we're going to try to do it by every 4 weeks. Okay, so let's get to that first pack of 4 weeks. All right, and I'm going to go ahead and give you the schedule. Week 1. We have the Steelers at home on 9/11 at 1 p.m. Again, we are used to playing at 1 p.m. We've gotten very good at playing at 1 p.m. This past year, I think we played 13 games at 1 p.m. or something. Week 2, a game that you and I thought there's a possibility we're going to get Thanksgiving against the Cowboys, but the NFL said no. Week 2, we are at the Cowboys. That is on September 18th. Now, that is a 4:25 kickoff, which 4:25, the viewership is a lot more at 4:25 than it is at 1, and sometimes even prime time. I think I read somewhere last year where a lot of those 4:25 games had more viewership than the primetime games did. So we got Cowboys week 2 at Dallas at Jerry's World, right? Week 3, we are at the Jets. That is on September 25th. That is at 1 p.m. And for me, this is a Bengals revenge game, right? Tough loss to the Jets. You and I both know how that went down. Terrible call at the end. On the unnecessary roughness. It just absolutely ridiculous. But to me, that's a revenge game at the Jets, September 25th. And then week 4, we see our first primetime game at home against the Dolphins. That's September 29th, and that is on Thursday Night Football at 8:15 p.m. Maan, tell me about these first 4 games.
I love the Steeler game week 1 at 1 o'clock. I was trying to remember, have they ever opened up against the Steelers ever? The kickoff a season. I don't know if they have.
I don't think they have. I think I read that somewhere that they have never opened up against the Steelers.
Yeah. I like that. We don't know who the quarterback's going to be. I'm sure Trubisky's probably going to be the quarterback. You never know. Maybe if the number 1 pick, he can beat him out in camp. I doubt it. But I love getting the Steelers with a new quarterback. I expect big things that game. The Cowboy game is going to be really interesting. I think they start off against the Buccaneers in Jerry's World in Dallas. So their first 2 games of the season are at home. And that's going to be a tough one. But I like our chances there. I think we match up well with them. It's going to be interesting. Micah Parsons didn't have nice things to say about Joe Burrow last year, so they get to play each other week 2. Yeah, that's going to be exciting. And you're right, 4 o'clock game. CBS has a lot of say-so in that too. One of the reasons this game maybe wasn't prime time, CBS and these Fox and all of them, they get a lot of say-so. They don't want to lose these games to the prime time, because it's good ratings for them. The Jets, we have to win these games. The Jets are going to be much improved. They did beat us last year, but we have a few other games on the schedule similar to teams like the Jets. We're going to be favored. We need to win this game. We just cannot sleepwalk like we did last year and have those mistakes. That's a must-win game. We just can't lose games to teams like the Jets. The Dolphins, interesting game. A lot of talent on that team. Everything revolves around their quarterback. If he plays well, they're going to be hard to beat. But prime time in Cincinnati, I like our chances. I know we're going to talk about wins and losses later, but I feel good about the first part of our schedule.
I do too. These first 4 games to me is a home run for the Bengals. Again, I'm like you. I think that Steeler game is almost a bye week for us, and I don't mean to sound overly optimistic, but I do. I'm with you though. Their quarterback situation is going to be in flux. We have no idea who's going to be taking snaps at that point. I think the Bengals I think they run away with this game. I agree with you about the Cowboys. Good matchup for Cincinnati. I think they're going to get up for that Buccaneers game. And whatever happens, I think we're going to get a different Cowboys team, maybe an emotionally drained one week 2. The Jets game, again, the good thing is for us is that Mike White's not playing quarterback, right? Because that guy looked like an all-pro against us last year. And then the Dolphins game, again, I think what the Dolphins have done in free agency was awesome, going out and getting all these different types of weapons. But their quarterback situation to me is still a mess. I don't think Tua is the guy, and again, like I said last week, this is a quarterback driven league. I don't care how many weapons you have. When you have one of the elite quarterbacks in the NFL, I like our chances against anybody that doesn't have a guy comparable to a guy like Joe Burrow. So I agree with you. I think those first 4 games are a home run for the Bengals. And these next 4 games, I'm going to tell you, I feel almost the same way. So let's go through the next 4. We have Week 5 at Baltimore. That is on October the 9th. That is a Sunday night game at 8:20 p.m. So 2 back-to-back prime time games, right? We have the Dolphins at home, and then we have a nice long week to get ready for the Baltimore Ravens in Baltimore on Sunday Night Football. Week 6. This is a game for me. I think this is a tough matchup for us. At the New Orleans Saints. This is October 16th. That is at 1 p.m. Again, Burrow, Chase, and our LSU guys coming back home to New Orleans. Week 7, we have the Falcons at home. That is on October 23rd. That is at 1 p.m. And then week 8 at the Cleveland Browns on Halloween at 8:15 p.m. on Monday Night Football. So again, we're talking about 3 primetime games in a 5-game stretch for our Cincinnati Bengals.
Yep, prime time. Here we come. Yeah, that's what happens. That's what happens when you win when you go. I wish we'd have won the Super Bowl. When you go to the Super Bowl, yeah, that second half or the 4 that we just mentioned, the Ravens game, that's going to be a tough one. They're going to be really fired up for that game, playing in Baltimore. That's my first real concern of the season. It's going to be a tough game, but we got to put our big boy pants on for that one. The Saints game. Listen, the Saints playing on the road. It's never easy to play on the road. The Saints are, they have Jameis Winston. He's done well. That's a game the Bengals need to win. I think they're better than the Jets. I compared the Jets earlier. I think the Saints and down the road, the Falcons game, these are games that they have to win. And I think that the Bengals will go down there and handle that. It won't be easy, though. The Falcons, obviously, they're playing in Cincinnati. We don't know who their quarterback's going to be at this time. It could be Ritter. Maybe that's his first start coming back to Cincinnati. That's a game the Bengals should be heavily favored, and I expect them to do well in. At Cleveland, I mentioned it last week. They have absolutely dominated us the last few years. I think they beat us 6 out of the last 7. We have got to figure out that Rubik's Cube. We got to figure out the Browns and take care of business there. I'm looking forward to that game. That's one of my favorite games of the year. I can't wait for that one.
So, yeah, and I'll just say a little bit about that 4-game stretch again. I think the Bengals go into Baltimore and take care of business. I'm going to disagree with you on that. I think that is a game that the Bengals still have something to prove. I think they go in. I think they dominate that football team once again. I think the Bengals are a better team. I think they have a better roster. And, we've heard Baltimore fans this week, oh, we're getting back this guy. Listen, you can get back whoever you need to get back. You still haven't fixed your deficiencies, and you're still not in the Bengals league right now. I think the Bengals go and handle business with Baltimore. I'm going to disagree. I think that New Orleans Saints game is a tough football game, and that New Orleans Saints defense is going to be tough. They were tough last year. Remember, they shut out Tom Brady, and I know Tom Brady didn't have all of his guys with him, but again, that's a tough thing to do, is to go and shut out a guy like Tom Brady. That New Orleans game is going to be tough, and that the Dome is a hard place to play. I know Jameis Winston, again, the quarterback situation between Burrow and Winston. Winston is not in Joe Burrow's league, but I do still think that is a tough football game. And the Bengals always seem to struggle at least once against an NFC team during the season. So to me, this is a tough football game. I think the Falcons game is perfect where it is. I think that's another extra little bye week for the Bengals. I don't see that even being close. And let me say this about that Browns game, because I don't disagree with you. They've had our number.
Mhm.
I think the Bengals this year are going to handle the Browns in both games. I think the Bengals have something to prove against that football team. I think they're tired of hearing the noise. I talked about last week. I think the Bengals are playing with a chip on their shoulder, and I think this is one of the biggest chips that they are carrying is the Cleveland Browns. And I'll be honest with you. I think they go into Cleveland, and I don't think that football game is even close. But we'll get to that in just a second. Let's go into our next little grouping here. Week 9, we have the Carolina Panthers at home. That is November the 6th at 1 p.m. Week 10 is our bye week. That is the Bengals' actual bye week, although I feel like we've had a couple thrown in there for us. Week 11.
Wow.
Week 11, we're at the Steelers. That is November the 20th. Here comes our next primetime game on Sunday Night Football at 8:20 p.m. against the Steelers. Week 12 at Tennessee Titans. That is Thanksgiving week, right? That is November 27th at 1 p.m. And then week 13, the game that you and I were hoping would be week 1, the Kansas City Chiefs come into the jungle. That is going to be December the 4th at 4:25. Again, to me, this is one of those flexible games. I could see this being the Bengals' 6th primetime game, and I could see this being a situation where the Bengals get another home primetime game. And we even have another one a little bit further down the road, but that is away. So what do you think about this grouping of games, Mom?
I like the Panthers game. Like I mentioned, that's a game they have to win. They're going to be favored in that game. Also, that's the game I'm taking my whole family to Cincinnati again.
Awesome.
So they better win.
I'll be there. I'll be there.
That's right. Of course, so we're going to win the bye week. The bye week, I love it being week 10. I think it's perfect. I've never liked bye weeks early in the season.
No,
I think that's perfect timing. At Pittsburgh, they'll have their quarterback situation figured out then. Listen, playing on Sunday night in Pittsburgh, that's going to be tough. I don't care what their record is. That's going to be a hard out. Titans, they're going to be out for blood. We eliminated them in the playoffs. Vrabel's a hell of a coach. That's going to be a tough game also. The Chiefs, Major, Jim Nance, Tony Romo's going to be there. That's a game that, I think that the Bengals I don't think they're going to lose that game at home. I really don't. And that's going to be that's 3 tough games out of 4. And that's going to be an interesting stretch. Very interesting.
I agree. And I agree with you. Vrabel is a good coach. However, he was not head coach of the year in my eyes.
I agree with you.
Yeah, there's no way that you can not say that Zach Taylor is a head coach of the year. That is not a homer call by me. That is what he has done in a 3-year span with the Cincinnati Bengals to me. And then he goes in and beats Vrabel. And I know that stuff comes out before the playoffs, but he goes in and beats, to me, I agree. Vrabel is a good coach. I have a lot of respect for Vrabel. He is not my coach of the year this year, as Zach Taylor was. All right, here we go. Here's the final 5 games. All right, this is a tough stretch, no doubt. Week 14, we have the Cleveland Browns at home. That is December 11th at 1 p.m. Week 15 at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. That is a 4:25 game as well. That's on December the 18th. Again, I think that is a flexible game that we could see in prime time. And that obviously is a game I'm very excited about going to. Again, you and I have talked about before. That's always a great trip. You were right. You did call your hot take on the ticket prices. I went on, wow. As soon as the schedule was released, I went on. I think it was almost $400 for the nosebleeds. But we will find a way to get there, Mon. I'm
starting a bake sale.
We'll do a bake sale and a lemonade stand, but we're gonna
Let's go.
We're gonna find a way to go watch the new GOAT take the
No doubt.
reins from the old goat. All right.
All right. All right.
The next week, tough game, week 16, going into Foxborough Stadium. We have the New England Patriots. That game is on December 24th. That game is at 1 p.m. on a Saturday, Christmas Eve, right? Again, tough. That's going to be a tough out, I believe, for the Bengals. Week 17, the other game that we were very excited about, that thought maybe would be week 1. Now we got to wait all the way to week 17 for the Buffalo Bills, right? Bills Mafia to come into the jungle. That game is on January the 2nd at 8:30 p.m., Monday Night Football. We did call that one, though. We knew it was more likely going to be a Monday Night Football game. I think the two best quarterbacks playing right now in the NFL on Monday Night Football. I'm very confused on why it's at the end of the year. I believe that game, though, is going to be the winner. I think will get the number 1 seed in the AFC. Then week 18, a game to me that is gonna be meaningless to the Bengals. I really do believe that. That is Baltimore Ravens in Cincinnati. Right now, that's to be determined. Either January 7th or January the 8th. We will see. I think the NFL wants to see. I think the NFL is thinking that game is going to determine the AFC North champion. I disagree. I think that's already going to be determined by our Bengals a couple weeks before that. So what do you think about that last grouping of games, Mom?
Well, that was 5 games you went over. Let's just add the Chiefs game. Our last 6 games on the schedule, 4 of the 6 are at home. I love that. I love the fact that at least we get 4 of our last 6 at home. The Browns game at 1 o'clock, I like our chances there. I think by that time we've mastered the Browns. At least I hope we have. The Buccaneer game, that's going to be a real tough one. Again, like you said, that could get flexed out. But Tom Brady playing in Tampa, that's going to be a one heck of a battle. The Patriot game, that game could be 20 below. And playing Belichick, I don't think the Patriots are going to be as good as everybody thinks. I know. Listen, Brady's not there. That quarterback played really solid last year. He's nowhere near Brady. The Patriots really don't scare me. I like our chances up there. Okay, I think the game of the year, the Buffalo Bill game, I think the NFL thinks this could be an AFC championship game. Prime time, downtown Cincinnati. We just can't lose that game. It's going to be hard for the Bills to come into Cincinnati and win. The Raven game, hey, hopefully we're resting our starters here and we don't have to worry about that game. But again, we're finishing the season against the Ravens. Seems like we always do. And it's an interesting. These last 6 games, they're tough ones. And hopefully we're healthy. And I like our chances. I love the fact that we have 4 of the 6 at home, the last 6.
I agree. And it's kind of interesting how the schedule worked itself out, right? Because it feels like that first stretch we have a lot of games on the road, right? That first stretch.
Right.
But it's nice because a lot of those teams, again, I don't feel those are going to be very hard outs for the Bengals. And then we get to that tough stretch at the end. That is brutal. I mean, I will agree with you. It is a brutal stretch, but I do like the fact, like you said, that we have home games, more home games than away games. But remember, I talked about those two home games in a row.
Yeah.
Both of those come in that final stretch.
They do. They do.
Which I think is huge.
Yeah, Jake, real quick, comparison's sake, the last 6 games for the Browns, 4 of their final 6 are on the road. Okay. The Ravens and Steelers, 3 of their final 6 are on the road. So the Bengals have a little bit of an advantage there. They got that extra home game during that home stretch. And I personally think that's going to be the make or break part of the season. And having that extra game at home could help us. The Browns having only 2 home games or final 6, that could come back and bite them.
Well, we look at, again, too, one thing I look at with this schedule is the two teams I think are going to give us the toughest time as far as winning the AFC again. The Chiefs and the Bills, both of those games end up at home for us, and I think that is a huge advantage.
Yeah.
Again, I know Joe Burrow is 2-0 versus the Chiefs. I understand that, but I'm glad that we get them at home because I think it'd be tough to go back into Arrowhead. It's tough to win in Arrowhead, especially at the end of the year like that. So I feel like that is definitely an advantage. And then getting Buffalo in Cincinnati, like you said, I know you and I are going to be there. It's going to be a crazy environment. It's going to be a playoff environment.
Yes.
And again, I don't see the Bengals losing that football game. I think Joe Burrow in prime time, he knows who he is being compared to. Josh Allen is coming into town, and Joe Burrow is going to have something to prove in that game. So, Mom, before we get into our final schedule prediction, which I'm very excited to hear what you have to say, because every year you always take the under, right? Because that's just how you are. I always take the over. So it's going to be very interesting to see how this pans out. But before we do, Mom, real quick, we were talking off the air. I want to hear because I love the history. I love stats. I love numbers. You have some numbers for us, right? You have all-time records against these football teams that we are playing. So why don't you give us our all-time records against our teams on the schedule this year?
Okay. I'm not going to go in order. I just have it here. Against the Atlanta Falcons, the Bengals are 9-5 all time. Okay. Against the Baltimore Ravens, they're 25-27. That's pretty surprising. Okay. Against the Buffalo Bills, they are 13-17. So the Bills have had our number there.
Okay.
Against the Panthers, we're 2-3. Against the Browns, I love this one. There was a big Twitter battle over the weekend. We're 51-46 against the Cleveland Browns. Okay. Cowboys were 4-9 all time. Let's see here. Kansas City Chiefs were 16-14.
All right.
Thanks to the championship game last year and the game in the regular season. Against the Dolphins this is not good, 7-17.
Wow.
Okay. Against the Patriots, 9-17.
Wow.
Against the Saints, we're 7-7.
Okay.
The Jets, 10-16. This is the worst one of all. The Steelers, 38-65.
Ugh.
We're going to make that 40, and we're going to add 2 wins this year. Tampa Bay were 5-7, and Tennessee Titans and Oilers 35-40. No, 34-40-1. 34-40-1. We had one tie with them.
So again, for you newer Bengal fans, just to remind you, the 90s, that stretch of 10 years in the 90s, that probably ruined a lot of those all-time records because that was a rough stretch of 10 years there in the 90s, Mom.
Yes, it was. It was. That was the lost decade and long gone.
All right, so let's. I do like the Cleveland Brown one though. Let's talk about and the Baltimore Raven one really quick. They for some reason they think they have owned us. I don't know why they thought that. Even when the Ravens had good football teams, we were beating them. Marvin Lewis in the Marvin Lewis era. I think in his era, I think we had either a 500 record or we might have even had a winning record against the Baltimore Ravens.
We did. He had a great record against the Ravens. The tail end, that's when Lamar Jackson came in. I think that overlapped. Obviously, they beat us, but he had a winning record against the Ravens.
All right, here we go. All right, Mom. Really quick, we got to get out of here. I want to hear your schedule prediction. Just go through real quick by each team, win or loss by each week. All right, here we go.
Okay, ready? Week 1, I have a win against the Steelers.
Okay.
Week 2, I have a loss against the Cowboys. Week 3, we beat the Jets. I have a win. The Dolphin game, I have a win. At the Ravens. Week 5, I have a loss.
Okay.
I have a win against the Saints, a win against the Falcons, a win in primetime against the Browns. We beat the Panthers. We have our bye week. We have a loss at Pittsburgh, a loss at Tennessee, We
Wow.
beat the Chiefs. We beat the Browns. We lose to Tampa Bay. We beat the Patriots. We beat the Bills. And we beat the Ravens. And I have us at 12-5.
12-5. And I will tell all of our listeners and viewers that is probably the best record Mon has ever given the Bengals since I have known him these last 13 years of us doing this every year. That's probably the best record Mon has ever predicted for our Bengals. So that could be a good sign, Bengal fans. All
I'm
right, real
feeling it.
quick. You're feeling it. Here's mine. I have a win against the Steelers. Again, I don't think that game is close. I have a win against the Cowboys in Dallas. I have a win against the Jets. Again, I think that one won't be close. We have the Dolphins at home on prime time. I have a win for us. Again, I think we beat the brakes off the Dolphins on prime time. I have a win in Baltimore. I think we go into Baltimore. I think we handle business and prove to everyone that last year was not a fluke. I have a loss against the Saints. I think we go into New Orleans. I think we come off a very emotional win in Baltimore. And I think we're down a little bit against New Orleans. I like their defense. I think their defense is very good. And I think New Orleans gets one on us. Again, I don't think they are the better football team. I just think they get one on us in New Orleans. So I have a loss against New Orleans. I have a win against the Falcons. I have a win at Cleveland. I think we go in and I think we dominate the Cleveland Browns at home and get that chip off of our back. I think we go in and beat the Panthers. We beat the Panthers at home. I don't think that game is very close. I think we go into Pittsburgh and beat them again for a second time. I don't think they are even in our league. And I think Joe Burrow continues that 3-game, well, it will be 4-game, and now 5-game win streak against the Pittsburgh Steelers. And then I think we go into Tennessee, and I think we struggle a little bit. I think we get a loss against the Tennessee Titans. So that is the first one I think you and I have agreed on, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, loss-wise.
Loss-wise, right? Okay. The next week, I think we get the Chiefs at home, and I think Joe Burrow goes 3-0 against the Kansas City Chiefs. I think the Bengals win that football game. I think the following week, we beat the Browns at home, and I think we sweep the Cleveland Browns. Again, I don't think they are in our league. I like us to beat the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I think Joe Burrow goes into that game. I think that game gets flexed into prime time. And I think Joe Burrow goes in and outduels Tom Brady. And we start hearing the talk of Joe Burrow, taking the reins, so to speak, of Tom Brady. But I think that's a very emotional win. I think that's a tough game. I don't think it's an easy win. And I think we go into New England and struggle the following week. I think it's tough to win in Foxborough. And I have that as a loss for us in New England. Again, that's going to be a short week as well for the Bengals. And you'll notice that on a lot of our losses, I have us on that short week.
Right.
And then I think we beat the Buffalo Bills, and I think we beat them by a couple scores. In Cincinnati, I think Joe Burrow outduels Josh Allen. I think Josh Allen plays well. But I think Joe Burrow, again, he's hearing all of the noise about who he's being compared to, and I like Joe Burrow against the Buffalo Bills. And then again, as I said last week, Mon, I think that Ravens game is meaningless to the Bengals. I told you last week, I think the only loss we have in the division is against a team if we play them that last week, because I think the Bengals wrap up the AFC North a couple weeks beforehand. And I think we lose that game to the Ravens at home because we have all of our second string in like we did against the Cleveland Browns this past year.
That's fair.
So I have us at 13-4, Mon. one game better than you at
Not
12-5.
Not undefeated.
Well, let me say this. It's impossible to go undefeated, I think, in a 17-game schedule. But I do want to make this very clear. There is not a team on this schedule that is better than the Cincinnati Bengals in my eye. Now, that doesn't mean we're not playing a tough schedule. That doesn't mean we're not playing good teams. But when I look at the roster of the Cincinnati Bengals, I think it might be the best roster we have ever had. I think it's going to compare to the 88 team, the 2005 team. I think this is one of the best rosters that the Bengals have ever had. And I don't see a team on this schedule that is better than the Bengals. But at the same time, it is football. You have to go out. It's a grueling 17-game schedule. And I think there are, the Bengals are going to have some losses here and there, of course.
Let me add one thing. The Cowboy game, I think the Cowboys are going to lose to the Buccaneers week 1. I just have a hard time seeing the Cowboys losing 2 weeks in a row at home. That's why I chalk that up as a loss for the Bengals. I think it's going to be a tough one. I wouldn't be surprised if they won, but I fully expect Tampa Bay to beat Dallas week 1, and they're going to be fired up, and they're not going to lose 2 weeks in a row. That's why I picked them. But yeah, you know what? Bengals roster is solid, and it's going to be exciting, and hopefully we just stay healthy.
Hopefully we do, and hopefully we are both right, because I'll take 12-5. I'll take 13-4. I think the Bengals go out, and I think they are playing with this chip, and I think they prove all the naysayers wrong. That is another edition of the Bengals Pulse. He is Maan. I am Jake. Guys, have a great week. Hoo day, Bengal fans.
Take care, guys. See ya.